People who fly first or business class on their own dime, how do you justify the cost? I know a few people who do it who are in a more advanced age and they basically 1, can afford it and 2, find it more comfortable, legroom, luggage allowance etc. All justification they need. I only do so for long international flights and it's well worth the money to me to not feel like pretzel after a 10 to 12 hour flight. Flying sucks otherwise. I see it as paying for comfort and arriving less exhausted worth it if I can afford it. No kids and only travel twice a year so I skip the fancy hotel and pay for the bed in the sky instead. Domestically if you book enough in advance it can be a few hundred more. If you're over 6 foot it's worth it just to not be completely jet lagged. It gives me an extra day on vacation since I don't need a day to recover from coach. I'm old and thrifty but first class is my one splurge. I can afford it and my body deserves it. I pay for my own flights, but I fly one airline often and have their credit card. With some points shenanigans and loyalty, I get status and upgrades. I'm technically paying my own way, and flying first, so that works for me. If you have the money, and don't answer to anyone, you don't need to justify the cost. Just like you don't need to justify the cost of staying in a nice hotel. Have you ever traveled first or business class? You'd know the answer, if so. Because I can afford it, and life is too short to be uncomfortable. I've only flown first class a handful of times, usually as an upgrade for a very short regional flight. I thought it wouldn't be worth the extra $70 I spent and I was wrong. If it's within your means, it's well worth it. The extra legroom and service make it worth it. Now how folks have a budget to justify that for long-haul flights and international travel is beyond me. I'm in economy for those flights. Comfort. Convenience, no stress, peace of mind to work on what I want means everything. One more concrete way to put it, especially for long-haul flights, you're paying for physical comfort and time. The reason this is valuable is that while you might be able to sleep on a flight in coach, in the premium cabin, you're actually reclined and comfortable so the sleep is actually restful and you wake up feeling more like you've slept in a real bed. This actually helps a lot to get over jet lag and or to physically recover from the flight. These are particularly valuable A, if it's a short trip and B, as you get older and your body isn't as forgiving. If you're essentially obviating the need for rest, what you're often buying is some extra days of not feeling shitty / being able to do useful / fun things. I'm older and can afford it. Because there's no going back. I'm not necessarily paying for just the seat but the overall convenience and a smoother more relaxing travel experience that I'm not old by any means but I've hit a point where I will gladly spend money for a little more comfort or a nicer process. I occasionally have to fly for work. Company pays economy only as policy. Flying economy is tantamount to torture for anything over 5 hours in my opinion. I flew a lot as a kid in the 80s when economy was much more comfortable lol. I paid to upgrade myself to business for a 16-hour flight to Seoul, and premium economy for an 8 hours to Germany. It's a fair amount of money for me but definitely worth it. Getting too old to be uncomfortable. Flying sucks, it's somewhat tolerable in F or J. If it's a long flight, it's just worth it to not arrive feeling like you need to recover from the flight, and lose a day. Or get so exhausted after the first day or two, that you end up kind of crashing for a day or so a few days in. I'm not a flashy person overall, but I value comfort. Also the extra spend ends up benefiting you in credit / loyalty points eventually. I am currently retired at age 70, I worked full-time, or more, / went to school full-time / or worked and went to school more than full-time since I was 15. My wife and I lived below our means and saved. We raised 2 children who always had what they needed, and some of what they wanted. We put both through their first college degrees with no debts because we lived below our means, rarely took vacations, and saved. We have a comfortable nest egg. My wife and I gave our children what they needed to succeed as far as education and they both married partners who are truly that and provide for their families at this point. If for some unforeseen reason that changes, we will always be there for our children and grandchildren. But for now, we take 2 trips a year and splurge on first class because we wish to pamper ourselves during the few years we have left to be able to enjoy that. A lot of this depends on one's own physical dimensions. It makes me feel like everyone else is beneath me. We only fly once a year or so, and before things got out of control it was only maybe an extra 150 or so and we could afford it. There are large swaths of people out there that have more money than you or I would ever imagine about. If I fly more than a few hours away, I want to be comfortable. I also avoid connecting flights if I can fly direct them. Why? Time is important to me and I'm willing to pay for it. No kids and I want to avoid the great unwashed. Respectfully, we don't have to justify the cost. It's actually fiscally responsible because cheaper than a private jet. I don't book business or first class, but I always ask about upgrades at the gate, and depending on the cost and length of a flight I will pay it. Sometimes it can be super cheap. Got an upgrade on Seattle to Tokyo from economy to business for $65. A 10-hour trip. If I don't fly first, I'd rather drive. Yes, I would rather drive 12 hours than take a 3-hour flight. Being in the back of the jet is draining and you arrive depleted. Up front, you're pampered and arrive refreshed. It makes/breaks the first day of your vacation. My uncle has to fly first class always. He's absolutely jacked, the broadness of his shoulders is insane. If he sat in economy seats it wouldn't be fair to him or whoever is seated next to him. I booked a year in advance, leaving next week. Short hop, only 1.5 hours, me and my wife. I'm 350 pounds, bad knees, old. It's as much for my own comfort as it is for the passengers around me. Booking a year in advance really made it affordable. I am fat and don't like to fly. Only do it for international flights, but if 5+ hours, we'll do it every time. Girl math also means it is worth it by the time I actually board, as it was bought and paid for months earlier. We are older and always fly first/business. Travel is too hard at our age and it's a much better experience. Once our kids get our money they are going to blow it anyway, so we might as well spend it while we can. My time, health, and sanity are absolutely worth it. That's all. I don't do it exclusively and only got to the point where it being affordable to me was recent in the last few years. Is it actually affordable? Hell no. For international flights it makes all the difference in the world and actually makes the flying experience an enjoyable one to look forward to with a D1 type experience. Domestically I don't really care as much and will only do it if I know the airport I'm flying into has advantages to getting on, off first. You don't have to deal with the riffraff. I fly private to avoid getting that commoner smell on me. I also stipulate the flight crew is to avoid eye contact and refer to me as His Royal Huggy the Bear. Pretty standard I think, right? I don't have to justify it to you or anybody. Just saying. I usually buy a regular ticket, then check the upgrade prices. I've gotten first class upgrades through the app for $100. That's worth it to me.